Lesson 18. I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing.
Hi there. Let's take another step further today. Are you ready to accept the fact that not only does the way you see affect how the world manifests itself in your perception, but it also affects the experiences other people might have too? Let's unravel this intriguing concept with Lesson 18.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing.
In the past couple of lessons, we learned that we never have neutral thoughts and thus we never see neutral things.
Lesson 16. I have no neutral thoughts.
Lesson 17. I see no neutral things.
In other words, each thought we have can be either true or false. It might stem from our inner self or from the limitations of our ego. It may come from love or from fear. It can either lead us to heaven or to hell. We never have neutral thoughts. And each thought determines the experience we're going to have in the world we see. It fosters the perception of a world that comes from love, or the experience of a world that comes from fear, a world aligned with God's creation, our true nature, and our spiritual self, or a world of darkness and illusions projected by the insanities of our ego. Today we learn another interesting piece to add to the picture. What we see doesn't merely affect our perception, but also the one that other people may have. And this is particularly true for the people we're connected to, or the people we're interacting with. Why is that? Because all minds are joined. We are all essentially interconnected. And this is another principle we will be training our mind to accept and think along the lines of. We will be training our mind to make it a habit to think and act as if we were all interconnected, as if we were all one. Because we are. But we have been conditioned all our lives to think and act as if the opposite were true, to believe that we're separate from God and from each other. Where did it take us? Where did it take us as a whole human species and in our own personal individual experiences? Shall we start considering another perspective? Shall we learn to embrace oneness, and shall we learn to do it as if it were second nature, and see where it leads us? Let's start with today's exercise then. 3 or 4 practice periods should suffice for today, and here's how we should undertake each one. Let's begin by looking around us, as we've been doing in some of the exercises from the previous lessons. Let's select random objects for the application of today's idea. As we did before, we just need to remember to pick these objects as randomly as possible. While keeping our eyes on each, we say,
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see this object.
For example,
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see this wall.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see this laptop.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see that tree.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see that car.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see this body.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see that face.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of how I see this person.
after a minute or so of this practice, let's conclude by saying the more general statement that expresses the idea of the day.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing.
I am not alone in experiencing the effects of my seeing.
How intriguing and eye-opening is that? Have you ever considered that the way you perceive things not only has an impact on you in your actions, but also has an impact on others? I'm sure you can relate this to something that you might have noticed happening in your life sometimes. You're doing great. See you tomorrow for another enlightening lesson. Quick reminder, if you haven't yet watched the introduction to this video series, be sure to do so, as it lays the foundation for our journey together. Just click on the video link that will appear on your screen shortly.
Did you enjoy the video and find it helpful? Please give it a like and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. We have a new lesson every day. And if you've been with us for a while, please consider supporting the channel. There's a lot of love behind these videos. Check out the video description for more details.